Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Blind Gooner. Also, welcome to all the viewers who are watching on the Arsenal FC fans page, courtesy of Nitesh. For those on Facebook, Nitesh is joining us very shortly. He's just got a couple of things he's doing beforehand, so he's going to be along very, very shortly. But yeah, listen, I hope you guys are doing well, whether you're watching this on Facebook and on YouTube. And for you guys on Facebook as well, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel here, The Blind Gooner, you can do so. I have posted the link in the comment section at the top of the video, so you should guys be able to see the direct link to the channel. So please do subscribe. And vice versa on YouTube. If you're not following Nitesh's Facebook page, please go and give that a follow. Really appreciate that. So yeah, as I said, we're going to get into the preview of Brighton v Arsenal. But before we get into that, yeah, it was a pretty bad result yesterday against Man City, wasn't it? It was a little bit a reality check, coming back down to reality, and yeah, it was a bit mad. But listen, the games keep coming, the content keeps coming. So one bad game is not gonna deter us. So I'm joined by Simpy. First and foremost, how are you, Simpy?
Yeah, not too bad. I've kind of moved on from yesterday's result, even though it annoyed me. But I expected the result. I just didn't expect that performance. But hey ho, we move on to Brighton.
Yeah, and I seem to. Well, I mean, we're going to get into this as well when Nitesh joins us. But I see that David Luiz has come out and basically took full responsibility for Arsenal being the way they were yesterday, and it was his catalogue of errors that caused us to capitulate, is one to a better word. But yeah, he's come out and held his hands up. Listen, do you know what? Right, I just want to say this quickly, that for many a time we've had poor results and players not taking responsibility for playing poorly. You know, we've been on the countless end of batterings in the past, and players have just shirked their responsibilities in terms of they've not come out and publicly apologized. Listen, I know it's all well and good apologizing, it's fixing up for the next game. I completely agree, but hats off to David Luiz for coming out and holding his hands up and saying that, you know, he takes full responsibility, because there are a lot of players at this club who wouldn't do that, who would just be naive and go, well, listen, it wasn't our fault, we were unlucky. And if you believe what you read, then yeah, hats off to him for coming out and basically putting himself in the firing line. Okay, yes, he put himself in the firing line by his bad performance, but the fact that he come out and publicly said that, you know, he takes full responsibility, the team was doing well, you know, before he came on. So yeah, listen, I don't know, what do you make of all that, Simpy? What do you make of David Luiz's public apology?
It's like you said, at least he had like the bottle to come out and actually physically say, yeah, it was me. So that I can respect him for. But on the pitch, we've already been through it lots of times. He was a key aspect for the Arsenal result, but it wasn't like solely to blame for David Luiz. It was pretty much most areas of the pitch apart from Leno. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on the matter. I don't want to get too torn on David Luiz, but I know there's rumours as well that might be his last Arsenal game for him to play for Arsenal. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, but yeah, the last game he'll play for Arsenal, really, because of his contract situation and stuff. But it's not really a high point for him to go out as, but it's what it is, really.
I think as well with the game plan last night, the game plan, pretty much went out the window when we got those injuries. And we did all right up until half time, I would probably say. Even when we went 1-0 down, you could probably say that, yes, we didn't have many chances on goal, if any at all. I don't think we had a single shot on target. But we were containing them. Like, we were 0-0 or even just, even just 1-0 down. So you could argue that maybe playing against Man City, listen, that that they're going to have a majority of the ball. That they are going to, that they're going to come onto you strong. So it's, for me, the first half wasn't the issue. The fact that we didn't really control the game was an issue for me. But I think the biggest issue for me is how we just didn't have a plan B when shit hit the fan with all them injuries. We didn't have a plan B, and that was a bit worrying for me. And also the fact that in the second half, the players just looked void of ideas. And listen, Man City just tore us apart.
Listen,
I've seen a lot of people. saying that Arteta's honeymoon period is over. And listen, I don't want to start going down that road and calling for his head, because it's too early. Listen, you've got to give him time. And yes, he made lots of mistakes yesterday. With you could argue the lineup and then the substitutions. That happens in games. Managers do that, especially ones who don't have no experience. But saying it's calling for his head after one bad game, I just think it's too premature. Especially, yes, we've had lots of bad games this season, but not all of them are Arteta's fault. And listen, he's only been in here at this job quite recently. And all these same fans that are calling for Arteta to go were the same fans that persisted with Arsene Wenger for too long when he was playing poorly. So I think it's a little bit hypocritical to be coming out and calling for a guy's head. I think what it is, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you, Simpy, is that certain fans didn't want Arteta in the first place. So now that when anything goes wrong, they're just going to use it as a stick to beat him over the head with. And it's not fair. Listen, if the bad performances continue, then my opinion of Arteta might change. But at the moment, I think it's too early to be calling for his head and to be saying that, listen, you've got to be sacked. Lots needs to happen at this club. For one, he needs to get his own players in. He needs to get his stamp on the team, because he's not. If we're being honest, this team is still a Wenger team, so to speak, more often than not. Maybe with a few exceptions. The players that Emery brought in, or the board brought in on his behalf, whichever way you decide to look on it. But he needs to have a transfer window or 2 transfer windows, and then if results don't pick up, then you could start questioning his position as Arsenal manager.
Yeah. The only question I had, I think I was saying this to Kevin earlier, so yeah, big up Kevin. It was to do with the whole lineup. I know lots of people had a problem with that. The only thing I didn't get is, obviously we're playing Man City away from home, which is first game of the season. I didn't understand why he didn't start with like Lacazette and Pepe, and then bring on like Eddie, Nelson, Saka, Martinelli, etc. in like the 60th or 70th minute, and bring them on, like start strong, like start the game like you mean business. Whereas we kind of fielded like a Europa League group game squad with some kids, and then we started bringing on the main guns later on in the game, and some of them we didn't get to bring on just because of the injuries. But I would have loved to see like what that plan would have been. But yeah.
I think part is Nitesh backstage.
No, I was just going to say we got a lot of comments flying in from Facebook and a lot of comments flying in from YouTube. So
yeah.
I'll just say, So I'll just say hi to people. So yeah, big up to Matt Timberley. He's new here, so welcome, Matt. We've got Jahid, we've got Liam Tux Football, Omar, Liam Damon, Melina, Cheddars, Jonathan Porter, Omar, Arsenal Misfit, Chadwick. So big up everyone. And then from Facebook, a lot of people from Facebook have been asking, do we have any like fitness updates or any injury updates on Granit Xhaka and Pablo Mari? From what I've seen, there's nothing being posted by the.
I don't think Arteta's even done his press conference for the Brighton game, is he? I'm guessing. I don't think he's done that yet.
Yeah,
mind you, that might not come out. Will that come out? That might come out tomorrow.
I don't know. I'm just looking at flash scores now. It just says, Mari and Xhaka out. Apparently they will not play for the Brighton game. They're out with an ankle injury, but I don't know if that's true. So if anyone in the chat knows, that would be great if you could pop that in, and I can read that out for people on Facebook and other guys as well. So yeah, big up to everyone. And then
everybody, big up to everybody on Facebook who's watching as well, who's new to who's new to the channel and stuff as well, and new to the content that certainly I put out. So yeah, big up everybody on Facebook. And like I said, if you do want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is my channel, obviously I know you guys are there on the Arsenal FC fans page, but if you do want to subscribe to the channel, the link is in the comment section. I believe it's the top comment, unless I think I put it as the top comment up there. Yeah. So if you just go to where it says Daniel Bailey and click on that link, and it will take you right to the YouTube channel, and you should be able to subscribe. So yeah, big up everybody watching, and big up everybody on both platforms. It's great to have you all on board. So yeah, what are people saying in the chat?
So there's been a fair few points. So yeah, Revanite and Mr. Arsenal podcast have just jumped in as well. So big up you two. Jonathan Porter saying, Daniel's right. As is Simpy, the forward line was questionable, but we haven't seen them in training, so we have to trust Arteta.
Yeah, listen. I just think it's too early. I just think it's too early to start. And I've seen a lot of people calling for his head, and it's when you add in the time that he's had a month and a half. So he's had January. I don't really count December because December we were going through that interim period. So he's had from January to end of February, and then this game. Come on, guys, that's 2 months. You're going to call for his head after 2 months? Really? At least give him a season. Maybe after a season you could start calling for his head. Give him a season, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't call for his head. And it's a balancing act, because when we played under Emery, a lot of people were thinking we turned a corner, and and then we just fell apart. But I just think certain fans don't like Arteta, and anything that goes against him, they're gonna beat him over the head with a stick. Now, don't get me wrong. Question his decisions. I questioned his decisions last night. Why didn't he bring on Laka? Why didn't he bring on Pepe? Question his decisions. But you can question a manager's decisions without beating him over the head with a stick. In terms of calling for his job and stuff, question his decisions. That's fine, but saying that he should go now and that he should be sacked, it's too early. It's far too early.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's his first major job. He's gonna make the odd mistake here and there. He's just testing the waters. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we've got to give him time, but we've also just got to make sure that the more time we give him, we can see progress.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And he hasn't really had enough time for progress to be made.
Yeah,
because obviously we had all this situation with the pandemic, and he's had this situation. So yeah, he's not really had time for progress.
Yeah, I saw an improvement in the defensive line up until yesterday. So obviously we stopped conceding as many goals and we set up a lot better. But
yeah,
up until last
see,
night.
for me, it's going to be this Brighton game is going to tell me a lot, because first game back, you could probably argue that there's a little bit. I never, although I said we had a chance to beat Man City, I never expected us to beat Man City.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of, it was more probable that we'd lose. What the worrying thing for me about last night is the manner of the defeat, because we just looked flat and we didn't create nothing, and that's a worry for me, if I'm being honest. That is more of a worry than losing 3-0, if I'm being honest. If we went out there and created a whole host of chances and lost 3-0, I wouldn't be as worried, because I'm like, well, at least we're creating chances. But last night's game, we didn't create anything, and to me, and that's what's worrying. And I don't necessarily think that is an Arteta problem. I think these players need to take some responsibility as well. Like David Luiz, right? I'm going to use him as a classic example. He fucked up last night and played poorly. And the first thing he did was come out and say, listen, I got it wrong. And even he come out and said that he shouldn't have played last night. He shouldn't have played last night. So hats off to him, for whether you dislike him as a player or not. You've got to give him credit for coming out and saying, listen, it was my fault. It was my fault. Listen, Arteta's not going to come out and publicly blame him. So all the fans that go, oh, well, Arteta's sticking by him. Listen, he's not going to come out and go, yeah, I agree with David Luiz. He shouldn't have played it. Listen, he's just going to look utterly ridiculous. But maybe behind the scenes, he's probably holding his hands up. Listen, we don't know what's goes on behind the scenes. But you have to, as an Arsenal fan, you've got to start looking at the situations for what they are. You know?
Yeah. There was a couple of things as well. I saw there was a YouTube, or someone on Twitter posted. It was, which goal was? I think it was the third goal. There was 5 Arsenal players around Kevin De Bruyne and Sterling, and they managed to score with just 2 players against 5 of our defenders. And I think we had 4 players wrapped around Kevin De Bruyne before he scored. I didn't understand this whole setup there. That shook me off. And I also saw something as well, which people in the chat might have seen as well, was the Ian Wright did like a match review at the end on Sky Sports. And it was just like reviewing, it was Aubameyang about how isolated he was and why he never got into the game, really. And it was like, as soon as the midfield got the ball, normally what you would have done is you would have pinged a ball in behind, I think it was Eric Garcia or Laporte, and Aubameyang would have used his pace like normal and ran onto it. But what the midfield did was they got the ball, instead of, Aubameyang called for it, instead of passing that ball straight forward, I can't remember what midfielder it was, he just turned back in and then passed it along the line. So it was chances like that, really. And I think Jonathan Porter put it in the chat saying the whole lack of depth of midfield that we had, because we didn't have Torreira, we didn't have Ozil, we didn't have Xhaka. It was the youth players. I love him playing the youth, and I love the youth players we've got.
I've said it for time. I don't think Guendouzi is good enough for this football club. I don't think Reece Nelson is good enough for this football club. I think his time is done. And it just proves my point yesterday that the fact that he was he did next to nothing. Eddie Nketiah, I don't think. Listen, play him up front. Don't play him out wide.
Yeah,
I don't get that. Saka, yeah, I mean his left position, him playing out left, I sort of agreed with that, and maybe Tierney. Tierney was probably the best of a bad bunch last night. But the midfield, who did we have in midfield? We had Ceballos,
Willock.
Oh no, we had Willock.
It was started with Willock, Guendouzi and
Xhaka. So Willock, listen, none of these players, if I'm being honest, none of these players are good enough. Yeah. Willock is not good enough. Guendouzi's not good enough.
Yeah,
But
the
what other options does he have?
the things with the youth players like Guendouzi, I've criticised him quite a lot, but I've kind of backtracked on stuff I've said. Guendouzi, obviously, we all know where he came from, and he was overplayed by Emery. But I feel even though he's young, we've got to give him more time because the stuff he has done, like the Aston Villa game, the Spurs game, and other games, and the Crystal Palace game as well, he's saved us. And Nketiah, I don't see as a starter. I see him as a impact sub, which he's shown at Leeds and occasionally for Arsenal. Reece Nelson, maybe a little bit more time, but I kind of agree with you. And I think the fact I don't understand. The one thing that annoys me is I don't understand why we had Aubameyang out wide. We had Saka playing on the right wing, even though it was a left wing, and then we had Eddie up front. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people in the chat. Yeah, some people saying Nketiah, Nelson, Willock not good enough, and then people sticking up for Guendouzi, and then Chadwick agrees that Guendouzi does lose the ball quite a lot, and he does hit the floor quite a lot. But I think that's just going to improve. The fact is, we don't have the money, or we're not going to go out and buy these star players that we see Chelsea buy, and that's the only thing. But we've got to give them more time. But the only fact is, I always argue, is how much time do we give someone before we let them go? Before we end up with a situation like Gnabry. I know you can't, it's hindsight, you can't say we let Willock go and then he turns into the next unreal player or something, but we'll see. I think we've got Nitesh in the background.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring
his taken. Before we should talk about Brighton, really, because we've just ended up criticising this.
So guys, I'm just about to bring in Nitesh now. So coming shortly.
And can I rant again?
Go for it.
I want to rant again now.
Go on.
No, obviously I saw a lot of people blaming David Luiz, but then you need to understand that if David Luiz was such a good player, he would have been in our starting 11. He wasn't picked for a reason, because even Arteta understood that David Luiz isn't good enough to play against a quick attack like Manchester City, and that is why he was on the bench. But then when you have an injury, like you lose Xhaka in the first minute and you lost Pablo Mari, your centre-back as well, your most reliant centre-back, you can say, out of Mustafi, David Luiz and obviously Mari, then obviously you have to either switch to a 3 at the back, as I was saying all day long yesterday, or you have to understand that Luiz is gonna let in a few goals. Your attack needs to do something. Actually, the problem is, because Luiz has gotten all the attention, the people have forgotten that there was not a single shot on target. And who gets the blame for that? One, the attackers, and second, Arteta, obviously. He played a formation which is 4-3-3. Do you do such a thing in a game against Manchester City? Definitely. If you're not expecting anything from the game and you're expecting that we are going to lose the game, then you obviously will do that. Because why will you change your formation into something that your players are never comfortable playing in? If they were so comfortable playing it in that formation, Unai Emery would have continued to play with that formation. He also did not. He understood that these set of players can't play in a 4-3-3 or 3-5-2 or those kind of formations, and he's tried to stick with the normal one. But see, that is one more thing, is the only place where you needed to flood a few more people was the defense to keep out City. And again, I said one more thing, that if you wanted to score against Manchester City, you had to do it in the first 20 minutes, when they were very clumsy, they were like out of form, they were not in the flow. If we had scored one goal at that point of time, City would have been nervous. Because obviously they would be probably suffering the you can say the because obviously they have not played as well, so they would have been suffering the side effects of lack of football as well. So if we could have attacked them more at the start in the first 20 minutes, we could see that they were poor as well. But once they picked up, once they were in the flow, at that point of time, David Luiz had to come on. Obviously, everyone is rusty. David Luiz was showing more rust than the other defenders. That is why he was very bad against Brentford. And it was quite clear. It's not that it was something that it's like a surprise, that everyone was surprised, because we saw what he did against Brentford. So it was expected. And that is why when Pablo Mari got injured, I think that was my biggest disappointment, because he had to go off. I did not mind when Xhaka was substituted and Ceballos came on. I was rather happy that Ceballos is coming on, the better of the midfielders, and he will play. And people are defending Guendouzi. What did Guendouzi do? What did Willock do? They didn't do anything either.
No, exactly. I don't think the problem is, right, our midfield is not good enough. Our midfield, Torreira is probably the only midfielder who is probably worth anything in the team. But see, the thing with listen, I looking back on the game, I questioned certain things that Arteta done. But what I'm not gonna do, which I've seen Twitter go absolute crazy this morning. What I'm not gonna do is call for his head for him to go as manager, because it's rightly question his decisions, because listen, he made some pretty bad ones yesterday, which were questionable. But call him for his head, and it's like I was saying to Simpy, Nitesh, that I think because there are certain fans out there who don't like Arteta, anything that goes wrong for him, they're just going to go, right, that's it. Oh, we said that it's not going to, he said that he wasn't going to do a great job, so now he's got to go. Question his decisions. Yeah, listen, I get it. I completely do. But saying for him to go when he's only been in charge for a maximum of 2 months is ludicrous.
No, those guys are idiots. Those guys are idiots who are saying that we want Arteta out right now. The same thing shouldn't have been done with Unai Emery as well. He also deserved more time, because this team is a problem. And until you have the players that you want, it's not going to change. Again, there is this guy, as I said, I showed you a video today. He said that even Unai Emery wanted Thomas Partey and Nzonzi, but they got him obviously Torreira. When you want some players and you know that this kind of player will work for me, then why don't you get him that player? He wanted Zaha, they got him Pepe. If you are forcing the manager to work with whatever shit you give him, then obviously he's not going to succeed. Then you're already reducing the chances of his success, which are already very minimal at a club like Arsenal right now. So that is the main problem. And the next thing is, the main problem with Arteta is because he's getting the stick yesterday because he did an Unai Emery yesterday. He started off with Eddie Nketiah in a 4-3-3. He played Saka on the right, which obviously didn't work, and he eventually switched him back onto the left and tried to get him around. And Aubameyang was on the wing. See, Aubameyang playing on the wing only works when Lacazette is at the center, because those two have some kind of coordinal play, and they have a coordination, and they play the 1-2 football, and they understand each other. It also works a bit when Saka is playing on the left and Aubameyang is playing in the center. But playing Aubameyang on the left, where he was completely isolated, playing Nketiah in the center, knowing that Aubameyang can't feed those crosses. He's not a guy who's going to feed you the crosses from the left. And playing Saka on the right, who's a naturally left-sided player, that was ludicrous. You're talking about why the fans are going ludicrous. That was ludicrous.
And then we got a £75 million winger on the bench, right winger on the bench. That's what I didn't understand.
And obviously Martinelli and Pepe deserve to start that game. Because I understand this, and as I said, from the Olympiacos game also, it was clear that when you don't play your best players and you keep them for the second half, eventually Arsenal is a club that always has injuries, and you don't get the opportunity of bringing them on. Imagine this was a game of 3 substitutes. 3 substitutes. What would your 3 substitutes be? One would be Pablo Mari gone off. Okay, David Luiz coming in. The other one would be Ceballos coming in. 2 of your substitutes were already used. Now, what would be the last substitute? The last substitute he chose was Niles. The other one was, I think he chose
Nelson.
Reece Nelson.
Yeah.
Reece Nelson. And the third one was Lacazette. So obviously, probably he would have gotten Lacazette on if there were 3 substitutes like any normal day. So what would be your attack? Your attack would be Lacazette, Aubameyang, and it would be Saka. And I think Nketiah was the one that went off as well. So he eventually switched the team, the attack, to the original attack that we wanted him to play. The only positive out of yesterday's game were 2 things. Ozil was not in the squad. Fuck off, Ozil. Second thing, Leno obviously was once again very good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree. I agree with you. I really do. I agree with you. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to dwell too much on this result because, like I say, we've got the Brighton game coming up, so I guess it's just one of them. We have to move on from it because it's. Listen, it's just chalk it down for one of the poorest evenings that we've seen, and in respects of other things, you know, it's not the worst hammering that we've seen.
No, it was
You know.
expected. Ian simply said 3-0. It's 3-1. It's 3-0. But the goal will obviously not come when you don't have in 101 minutes, in 102 minutes, when you don't have a shot on target. Obviously, there will be no goal expected.
Yeah. So, so let's go on to the Brighton game, because obviously we do have another game in 2 days' time. I suppose that's the one good thing is that, you know, in terms of Arsenal, you know, use the old metaphor, you get thrown off the horse, you get straight back on, and do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we do have the game against Brighton. So
Can we take a few comments before that? There are a lot of comments.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Read it. I think so according to this, we've got 18 people watching on Facebook and 13 on YouTube. I don't know how correct that is, but
thank you guys. Thank you.
Big up everyone. Do you want to read some, Nitesh? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We can respond to them as well. Yeah, so that they also get involved into it a bit.
Yeah, do you want to read them? Yeah.
Okay, I'll read. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I thought. All right.
Where did you leave off? Can you just read the first one so that I can connect to that?
It's up to you, really. We've just been discussing with. So it was the whole debate about the young players. So we've got quite a few.
Okay. Yeah, let me just address a few things from the chat. Like Liam Damon said, I don't think KDB was that good. Even I don't think KDB was that good. Obviously, he will be, because he'll get the man of the match, because Raheem Sterling had a few chances to score. But I think Sterling would have probably been one of the top contenders for a man of the match as well, because he got an assist and a goal, right? I think he got the second goal. No, the first goal, and he got an assist as well, right? I think, or did he not? No, he did not. No, Aguero hit the post. Yeah, Aguero hit the post, and then it came back out, and Aguero got the assist for that. But I think Sterling was one of the contenders, and he was more devastating. The player I was disappointed with respect to yesterday's game was Mahrez. He was very poor in terms of that, and probably some credit goes to Tierney as well. And one of the other guys, I'll just check. Yeah, the Arsenal Misfit says that it should have been 7-0 if not for Leno. Obviously, he got saved that Mahrez one, the one-on-one that he tried to dunk the keeper or dunk the keeper. And Chadwick is saying, I saw people on Twitter blaming Xhaka for getting hurt. Lamau, it was a freak accident. Also shows how important Xhaka is passing from the back to the midfield. Come on, Xhaka was not important. I was happy that he went off. The only thing that was bad about it was that we wasted one substitute, which we could have probably gotten Pepe, or maybe we could have gotten Pepe or Martinelli into the game. And I think it would have been... Guys, do you agree? Daniel, do you agree that if Xhaka was on, probably it would have been worse than what scoreline we actually had?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you think that if Xhaka was on in that game yesterday, it would have been worse than what we got?
I don't know. Listen, I think we still would have got battered.
Yeah, I was going to say it's just going to be the same.
Yeah, I think we still would have got battered. I don't see any improvement.
Yeah. And just want to ask you guys a question with respect to Xhaka now. If Xhaka is injured, so whom do you think will be the new Arsenal captain?
Still Aubameyang.
I'm not sure.
According to you, who should be the new Arsenal captain?
Oh, who?
Aubameyang.
Or Leno.
Yeah, probably. See, now that is again a question that is coming in my mind, because obviously if Aubameyang is said to be leaving, so will we make him captain again, or who should be the captain? I think guys in the chat can also revert back to that. Guys, do you think that who should be the next Arsenal captain? Now, because Xhaka, if he's injured, and anyways, we didn't want him into the team. So if he's out for a few weeks, who will be the next Arsenal captain?
You see, because Leno was the only one yesterday. You see, Leno yesterday, he was so angry. He was running up to the defenders and just shouting at them and everything when he made a save. He was the only one that I can really see who was up for that game. Really, and he tried to stop it being embarrassing. It was embarrassing, but he made it less embarrassing.
See, that was when I saw the formation and I saw the lineup. When we eventually understood that it was a 4-4-3, I said, this game we are not taking it seriously. Arteta isn't taking it seriously. And his comments that I'm happy that the injuries happened in this game and the sending off happened in this game rather than it happening in some other game, it clearly shows that he wasn't bothered about the result of the game. And I saw that as well when I saw Eddie Nketiah starting the game. If you want to beat Manchester City, obviously you will play your best players, not your second squad player. So that was clear there. And with respect to Saka as well, if he was playing Saka on the, why would he play him on the right? If he had to play him, he would play him on the left and play Nketiah on the right. If he was so desperate to play Nketiah, or the other option is if he wanted to give youth a chance, he would have played Reece Nelson there. Reece Nelson is a natural right winger. You could play Reece Nelson in the right, and he could have doubled. Maybe he could have run at Garcia. It's not Garcia. Garcia was on the left, right? So not Garcia, but I think he could have run at Mendy, who's himself not completely fit. Mendy has so many fitness issues. He couldn't have probably done too much against Laporte, but then obviously he could have troubled Mendy. And if maybe Aubameyang was at the center, he could have run at Garcia, who's a kid. He was playing for Manchester City, and he hasn't played a single Premier League game.
That's what I was saying. We had to run at him. We should have run at him like from the get-go and shake him up a bit.
Yeah, and that is why I said yesterday as well, Daniel, if you remember, that not playing Pepe against such defenders who are injury-prone, who have not played in the Premier League before, Pepe would have been he would have been a great guy to start. And even if we give him like just 50 minutes or 60 minutes, he could have actually destroyed that City defense with his trickery. I'm not saying that we would have won the game because if Pepe played, but what I'm saying is he would have at least given them a lot of nervous moments in those first 20 minutes so that they would have actually had to take a back step. And they would have been concerned that what if this guy runs through, he can probably score. And I shared another video on Twitter. If you guys yesterday saw, I tagged you. I don't know if you guys saw it. There were 2 or 3 chances where Aubameyang had actually made the run, but there was no one in midfield, no creative midfielder to actually feed him the ball.
Yeah, I don't know with Pepe. I don't think. I'm not entirely. I think it is questionable. Yeah, like I think him not playing Pepe, but then the only thing I would say is had we played him, and had we played him and then it not gone well, people would have said, "Oh, we shouldn't have played Pepe because he didn't play well." So it's a catch-22, isn't it? It's a catch-22.
I don't think anyone would say that we didn't play well because Pepe didn't play well, because obviously it's no brainer. Now, Daniel, let me ask you, who is the better player, Pepe or Nketiah?
Pepe.
If you want to win a game, who would you rely more on, Pepe or Nketiah?
Well, Pepe, but
exactly.
That's only because I think he's more established. I think he's more established than Nketiah because let's be honest with you, Pepe's not really shown enough consistently to warrant being played, nor is Nketiah. But if I have to pick one out of the two, I'll pick Pepe.
Exactly what the fans were also thinking, that Pepe is obviously better than Nketiah. If I wanted to win a game, I would pick Pepe. Then why is he not even playing? And what would have happened, I will say this, if Pepe was starting the game instead of Nketiah, what would have happened is in around 50 to 60 minutes, Saka would be playing on the left and he would probably go off, and Martinelli would replace Saka and he would come on. And probably a Lacazette would be brought on as an extra striker to find some goals. So and another thing you need to remember, when your attack and your midfield is a zero threat, the opposition has a free card. They have a free chance to push and keep counter-attacking and keep attacking and keep coming back at your defense. So your defense is bound to make a mistake. That is what Watford did against Arsenal, because there was no midfield and there was no attack. So they kept attacking because they had a free card. They had a free opportunity that you are not going to attack, so we will keep attacking. How does it happen when there is a goal and when a team is leading the other team, they stop attacking completely? What does the opposition do? They keep putting attacks at you. So that is what exactly City did, because there was no midfield and there was no attack. and there was no system and there was no coordination between them. They kept attacking until they finally scored 3 goals.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. Like, it's baffling. I suppose in hindsight, isn't it? We could question all this, but so what would you do for the Brighton game then? What would you do for the Brighton game? Because obviously different opposition.
Yeah, so we should brighten up now. Let's brighten up the stream.
Yes.
I was going to say, hopefully you got that joke. That was good.
All right
Yeah.
then. So let me ask you, because see, the thing is as well now, we don't know what's happening with these injuries. So let's say that they're not fit.
Can
What
I
would
can
you
I say
do?
one thing? Can I say, yeah, with respect to this, can I say one thing? If today David Luiz would have not been in the Arsenal squad, you know what would have happened? I'll tell you. Mavropanos wouldn't have been sent on loan, and Mavropanos would have been playing against Manchester City. That is how it would be. So whether it is David Luiz, whether it is one of these guys, you need to understand then that when your center backs are injured, you need to go to the backup, and this is what the backup is. And the next thing is, some people are saying Arsenal has 6 center backs, some people are saying Arsenal has 8 center backs. Why do we have those? Because of these injuries. When we have our first choice pairing playing, they can't play more than 5 or 10 games, and then we have to keep changing the center back pairing. We have to keep changing the left back pairing. How did Saka become a left back? This is how Saka became a left back. When we have a problem with the right back, how did Maitland-Niles become a right back? Because Bellerin can't play more than 5 to 10 games. This is how he became a right back. So when you're saying we have more defenders than usual, obviously we need to have more defenders than usual, because that is the problem that Arsenal has. Since Arteta has taken on as the manager, around, I think there have been more than 10 injuries just to the defenders. So are you understanding? Within not even a few months. And this was after the lockdown. They had a break. They were not even playing regular football. And what kind of injuries? Did you see how Xhaka went off? Was it a serious tackle? No one challenged him. It was just the ball hitting his foot and he got injured and he went off. How did Pablo Mari get injured? It wasn't a serious challenge. No one really challenged him. He was just running and he started limping and he went off. So if these kind of injuries are happening, this is why you need an Upamecano. Probably he will not get injured. Probably he'll be physically fit. You need to get in. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Nitesh, right?
Yeah.
Because I asked Simpy, I mentioned it to Simpy.
Yeah.
We were doing all right until
David
Luiz come on. You know, we pretty much kept it at 0-0 right up until the end of the first half. So
that is because of City, not because of Arsenal.
Yeah, well, Daniel, can I just add something real quick? I don't think we weren't doing okay. We were just kind of riding our luck.
But we were 0-0.
Constantly pushing forward.
Yeah, but we were 0-0. We were 0-0, right? Whatever you say, we might not have had the chances, but we were 0-0. We were never going to go to the Etihad and dictate the game. It was never going to happen.
We were kind of doing it for like 10 minutes. But then what has happened is, but what I'm trying to say is, if we had scored in those 10 minutes, the game would have been a bit different, because City would have been threatened by the attack. Now, who could have done that? I don't think Nketiah would have threatened City defenders any day of the week, even if he was like 6 foot tall or 8 foot tall. I don't think so. Pepe attacking and pressing could have done that. Probably a player like Martinelli.
But what I'm saying to you, Nitesh, it might have been Arteta's game plan to keep it 0-0 for as long as possible, and then bring on. I'm just speculating here. I'm not no way defending Arteta in whatsoever, but I'm just sticking up. I'm just speculating. So it might have been his game plan to get to half time with 0-0, and then you bring on the likes of Lacazette and Pepe and Martinelli in the second half. The only thing that probably changed it was the injuries, and it probably, I got the feeling with the injuries that it kind of, Arteta didn't really know what he was doing from that when we got injured. I think, like I was saying to Simpy before you joined, that he had a game plan, but once that went out the window in terms of with the injuries, he didn't have a backup game plan. And I think that's probably partly his downfall last night. And I think that maybe he should have he should have brought them on
this is
in the second half. He had the chance to and he didn't. Maybe he was worried about the fact that all of his first choice defenders like Mari and Xhaka, them two got injured, and he was probably thinking, okay, hold on 1 second. They're getting injured. If I play a Lacazette and he gets injured, then we're buggered, because we will be, and same with Pepe. Play a Pepe and he gets injured. So I wonder if he just went for the safest option rather than the obvious choice that we all wanted. I wonder if he went for that
what I'm trying
to
say is, so then in the post-match pressure, he should have clearly said that I tried to play for a draw. Or in the pre-match pressure, he should say that I'm going to the Etihad to play for a draw. As simple as that. He says a lot of things.
Realistically, a manager's not going to come out and go, I was only playing for a draw. Come on, let's be honest. It's not going to come out and say that. No manager's going to come out and say that. Like I was saying to Simpy as well, no manager is going to come out and say, oh yeah, it was all David Luiz's fault. We touched upon it earlier with David Luiz's public apology or whatever.
No, not in that sense. But at least he should be saying that we tried to play for a point and we didn't succeed. That is what the comment should be like.
What sort of message does that send out? What sort of message does that send out, though, Nitesh? So, say he comes out and said, "Oh, we're trying to play for a draw." What sort of message does that send out? And I guarantee you, right, Nitesh, if he come out and said, "Oh, we're only playing for a draw," how many of this Arsenal fan base would jump on? Oh my God! So you weren't going there to win; you were just playing for a draw. Jesus Christ! Let's get Arteta out. Let's get. They wouldn't. Come on, Nitesh. This fan base, half of this fan base is fucked. Half of this fan base would have jumped right on that.
If Arteta said that we were scared of City or something like that, they would take his case till the end of the world. But if he said honestly that we went to the Etihad and we tried to play for a draw or a point, if he said it right, then they wouldn't do anything, because they know that City is above us and in many terms, and they are in a different league. They are in Liverpool in the Premier League. So they would have probably said, okay, we would be happy with the draw. We would be happy with the point, because we know what our target is, probably trying to get into the top 5. So that is what it would be taken as. But if he went out and said that we were scared of City and we were scared of the City attack and all those things, then obviously he would get murdered online. But the thing is now, with respect to this, the other thing is, now if you are playing your squad and you say that he wanted to hold on to the draw, he wanted to hold on till to not concede as long as possible, he should have made those changes at halftime. At least one change should have come at halftime, because he was legally allowed to make a substitute. He should have changed Nketiah, taken Nketiah off at halftime, brought in Lacazette at that point of time. We had just conceded one goal, that was before halftime. The other thing is, we were not playing good after the first 10 minutes. We were not. If we had scored in the first 10 minutes, yes, it would have hit City hard. The second thing is, they were slowly getting into the flow. And when, as I say again, it's not completely David Luiz's fault. When David Luiz came on, City were already in their flow. Leno saved the Mahrez shot when he almost was on a one-on-one. He saved a few other shots. He saved a long-range shot as well. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, he saved a long-range shot as well. If not for Leno, it would have been probably 2-3-0 in the first half itself, despite City being out of flow and out of form. So that is the thing. We were just holding on to our dear lives, and eventually Sterling scored one, which was a David Luiz mistake. And it was bound to happen, because David Luiz has also not been playing for quite some time, and he was awful against Brentford. But the other option is, either you don't bring him on. When you know that he's not going to be playing well, you bring on a Niles and you play Tierney as a left wing back, or you change things around. You play Saka as a left wing back, and you switch the formation a bit, and you do such kind of things. You play Terry as left centre back. You play Bellerin as probably right wing or right centre back, whatever way you want. You change those things. Then you don't get David Luiz involved into it completely. And you push one of the wing backs forward. One of the wing backs, like maybe Bellerin, would have been constantly pushing forward, while Tierney would have been more cautious about it. And when he would go back, he would make it look like a back four with Bellerin also coming back. So that is how you play with the plan. And if Bellerin would have attacked the likes of Mendy, probably Mendy would have also gone off injured, because he is having those
the other thing problems. I would have done last night as well is I would have possibly I would have put David Luiz on, but put him in that Xhaka position, in that defensive midfielder position, because he can play there as well. He can play there, and then I would have changed the defense. I would have gone to like 3 at the back, instead of putting David Luiz at the back.
Yeah.
There was some.
I don't think David Luiz at the back is very good. I think you could probably. It would have strengthened our midfield as well, because he probably would have made a few mistakes, David Luiz, but in midfield it probably wouldn't have been as bad as what it was defending wise. And say
David
say
Luiz
he
at the back
made those challenges with the penalty. When he gave away the penalty, if he'd have done that in defensive midfielder position, it wouldn't have been as bad, it wouldn't have been. But yeah, that's what I would have done as well.
See, the thing is playing David Luiz against the fast attack at the back is never a good idea, and especially when he's also coming back from a break, he needs time to adjust. You remember one thing, when he came to Arsenal, his first 3 to 4 games or 5 games were very bad, and then as he got into the flow, he did improve. So he's not a player who's an instant success. He can't fit into the system, and he can't fit into the game instantly. Starting him, that is why Arteta didn't start him against Manchester City. He's not just because of the fact that his defending is bad, but because he's old now as well. Probably a younger David Luiz would have been a bit more agile and a bit more better with respect to those things. So that is about that. Now the thing is, when you know that you don't want David Luiz to play in a game against Manchester City, what do? You don't bring him on. You play a different formation. You change things around. If you're so energetic, and if you're such a risk taker, if you say that I am such a risk taker that I want to play Eddie Nketiah as a on the right side, then why don't you take a risk and play 3 at the back and play 2 wing backs? Because those wing backs can also assist your defense and both your attack. You could play a Maitland-Niles. A Maitland-Niles may say, no, I don't want to play a right back, but he may play a right winger. Right wing back, why won't he play a right wing back? I think right wing back gives him the perfect opportunity to balance both things out. So that could have also been done. And I don't know, but Arteta did not go for those options. He went for David Luiz. The next thing is when you're getting on David Luiz, you expect that there is a mistake or two in him, just like Mustafi. Luckily, Mustafi wasn't the target. They targeted David Luiz because they knew that David Luiz is on. If you see, Sterling moved to the right. When the goal was scored, Sterling didn't score from the left-hand side. Sterling scored it from the right-hand side. If you remember the goal, it wasn't a goal that came from left, whereas Sterling's original position is left. It's not right. He came to the right and he scored that first goal. The second thing again, when Mahrez got David Luiz sent off, again, that was his natural position. But the thing to notice is that they were attacking David Luiz on that right-hand side. They were not playing again. They were not targeting Mustafi because Mustafi is agile. They had seen the weakness and they were targeting that weakness. Both of them targeted David Luiz, and both of them one got a goal, one got a penalty, and it got converted into a goal. So they targeted the player, they targeted the defender whom Arteta shouldn't have actually involved into that game. And that is why before, in the preview as well of the Arsenal City game, I said Pablo Mari and Mustafi will be my 2 centre backs and not David Luiz.
Can I just add something real quick? So I saw Chadwick put it as well, and I was thinking this as well, Chadwick. We also had the option of bringing on Rob Holding as well. I know Rob Holding's been out with ACL and he's just coming back to form as well, but we still had that option over David Luiz.
No, I'll tell you why he didn't take it. The reason he didn't take it, if Rob Holding fucked things up, his career at Arsenal would have been over. But if David Luiz does that, anyways, he's going to leave soon. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, so listen, guys, we've been talking about the Man City game for quite some time now. So I want to move on to the Brighton game because we can dissect this game all day long, and we'll probably be here for 24 hours or so. But listen, I want to move on to the Brighton game. So putting the Man City game behind us, what would you do for the Brighton game? How? Obviously, it's easier opposition on paper, but listen, we know that nothing on paper is ever worth anything now, especially these days with Arsenal, because we aren't consistent enough. So, what would you do for this Brighton game? What would you do for the? Would you, in terms of like the lineup and stuff, what would you do? Because listen, obviously we could potentially have a few injuries, and I think maybe now it's more important to get a win under our belts as quickly as we possibly can, just to instill confidence back in. Listen, it's been a long time off, and then we had a performance like last night. I think the longer we go without a win, is only going to hit us harder. So I think that to get confidence back into this team, we need to look at this Brighton game and say that nothing less than 3 points is going to be good enough.
Yeah, can I jump in first, Nitesh?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing before that. All you guys watching on Facebook, I would request you to share the video on your wall as well, so that a lot more people can get involved, and all the Arsenal fans on Facebook can get involved as well. And if you haven't already subscribed to the Blind Gooner, you can do that as well, so that we keep posting content and you guys are always up to date with all the happenings on the channel as well. Even if Arsenal isn't playing well, at least, but you can have fun talking to us and chatting with us. Thank you.
Definitely.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so obviously before the break, Brighton were on a nine-game streak where they hadn't won a game. I know form goes out the window now because of this break, but there's certain players that we need to look out for in Brighton. So there's obviously Morpay, however you say it, Aaron O'Connelly. There's Aaron Moy as well, who's a really good midfielder. Centre backs Duncan Duffy, Ryan in goal. It's going to be a tricky one, this, because like I was mentioning to Daniel before we went live, we've played 4 away games at Brighton. I think we've lost 2 and drawn 2. And I think someone put in the chat, I can't remember who said, someone put in the chat saying, that's it. Steve said, we've only beaten Brighton once since they came up. So it's going to be a very tricky game. I reckon we should just go all guns ho, really, because this is one of the games we've got to get the win. We've got to get the win in all games, to be honest, but this would be a good game to start off with, an away win, because obviously we've got Southampton next. But I'd just go with our strength, really. So I'd go with Aubameyang, Lacazette, Pepe, or maybe Aubameyang, Martinelli, and Pepe. Midfield. This is where the midfield conundrum happens, which I've mentioned this before as well. But if you look at the table, all the teams around us and above us, their midfield absolutely like triumphs ours, position for position in the midfield, way better than ours, even some of the teams below us. So this is where it's going to be tricky. There's going to probably be Ceballos, Guendouzi, and I think imagine Xhaka and Torreira are still injured. I think it's going to be Willock, Ceballos, and Guendouzi.
Are you sticking with the 4-3-3? Are you sticking with the 4-3-3?
I don't know what it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Simpy.
I'll start with the back. I'll start with the back line. So obviously Leno, Bellerin, and Tierney, because I think Tierney played okay. I think he was on the wrong side there of Sterling's goal. But yeah, Tierney, Bellerin, Leno, midfield defender. Mustafi, and then who have we got? We've only got Holding, isn't it?
Robert.
So
but I'm not going to play Robert.
If Holding goes off injured,
I'll say something later.
If Holding goes off injured, who the hell are we going to play? As centre back.
I'll tell you once I get to my team.
Right. So all right. So my centre backs are going to be Matt Macy and Martinez. Okay, they're my 2 centre backs. So obviously we've got the height for Matt Macy, so he'll be there. Now this midfield, man. Who do we even have? Ceballos, Willock,
Ozil.
God's sake, man! I just see you laughing, and I just hear you laughing, giggling, and then I see you.
Yeah, because
we don't know what's happening with that. It's tactical reasons, but there's.
He's gonna come back because next game he's not gonna play 4-3-3 now.
Right. So yeah. So I'm gonna say it then. So I'm gonna go with. It's gonna be Guendouzi.
And we don't know that Torreira is injured.
Oh god, I don't know, man. This lineup's crap. There's so many players injured.
Let me go with my lineup and help you out a bit.
You can do it, pal.
Yeah, so Leno in goal, left back Tierney, right back Bellerin. Okay, and the centre backs I'm going to play is either I'm going to play 3 at the back or I'm going to play Mustafi and Kolasinac. And
Okay.
yes, because he can't run, but he can defend, and he's not that injury prone unless he's really putting in a shift. So I would play Kolasinac on the left hand side and Mustafi on the right. And with respect to the midfield, I will probably go with, if we are going for a 4-2-3-1, because I think his experiment has failed. He's not going to do it again. So midfield, it will be Ceballos, and the other guy will be Guendouzi. That is the two.
Okay.
And with respect to the cam, I think I think we should play Pepe. We should play Pepe there. Finally, he needs to play. He needs to be in the team. On the right hand side, I think I will go with the Martinelli. No, I will go with an Aubameyang on the right, Lacazette center, and Saka on the left.
Aubameyang doesn't play on the right that much, though, does he? He's only played it like.
I would
He and Lacazette
I would
can
put
interchange.
Aubameyang either goes on the left or up front. I don't think he would fit on the right. See, when you said Martinelli on the right,
yeah,
and Aubameyang up top, and then Saka, because then what do you do with Lacazette? Because obviously
Lacazette can't play anywhere else apart from striker, because if you have Lacazette, you need to use his physicality and his ball holding capability. So Lacazette will be the central striker. Aubameyang will have to adjust to the right, and the reason is because he and Lacazette interchange their positions. When Aubameyang comes to the center, Lacazette goes out. When Lacazette comes to the center, Aubameyang goes outwards. So that is not a problem. And the other thing is, Saka needs to stick to the left, because Saka will be the one who will be putting those crosses. If suppose Lacazette misses a cross, it will go towards Aubameyang, and Aubameyang can try to capitalize and score it. So you need to understand, when I'm saying that these three will be the three at the center, it will be a congested attack. It's not going to be an open kind of attack like we generally see.
Yeah, I get your point about Lacazette.
What about going 4-4? What about going 4-4? What about going 4-4-2? Right? And then having Leno in goal, having Bellerin and Tierney left back.
Yeah.
Having Mustafi. I don't know, man.
Do you agree with my decision to play Kolasinac as a centre back? Because he can't run.
I'd go for Matt Macy just because of his height.
What about because we don't know, Socrates might be back.
He hasn't played Socrates as a right back. That is the problem. He's just playing him as a right back.
Socrates as a centre back.
No, Arteta's not played him.
Yeah, Arteta hasn't played him.
Mustafi and Socrates as the centre back, and then the four across the midfield. You could have Torreira, because obviously we don't know that Torreira is injured, right? We don't know that.
Well, he's still out.
He's not fit. He's not fit.
But he's not saying it. It's not saying he's not showing up on the list of injuries.
No, he's not fit. That is why he wasn't even in the friendly games.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That could be he could come back in. Just because he's not fit doesn't mean to say that he's not going to pick him tomorrow. It could be he left him out for those games just so he can get fit, and he might be fit by or even fit enough to play some of the game. Maybe not to play all the game, but he might play some. And maybe in a game like against Brighton where you're going to have more of the ball. Games like Man City, you're going to run around, and he's probably not fit enough for that type of game. But a game against Brighton where you're going to see more of the ball than what you would against Man City. So
no, if he was kind of fit, I think he would have at least shown up somewhere. I don't think he's been training as well.
Torreira.
Yeah, Torreira.
Yeah, I think he was back running only a couple of weeks ago. I think so. He's broken ankle. I think.
All right then. So what about? Because we don't know with Xhaka as well.
Yeah, they've still. I'm gonna check Twitter now, see if they've updated anything. But they've still not said anything.
Zaka won't be available. He's not that kind of a physical player who will play with the knock. So I don't think he'll be available. Let's focus with the players that we have. Daniel, what would you go with then in midfield?
Okay, so going with a 4-4-2. So the four across the midfield, I would have Saka and Pepe as the wide players. Then the two midfielders. The two midfielders, the central midfielders. See, this is tricky because I would potentially maybe then if Xhaka and Torreira is not injured, I would go with a. Do you know what? I would go with Ceballos and Ozil in the midfield. I wouldn't even have a defensive midfielder.
You are so frustrated and tired. What's the point of a defensive midfielder now?
Yeah. So I would go with.
goals.
I would go. Yeah. No. Because see, the thing is, right? We haven't got a great defensive midfielder. So, Guendouzi's not good enough to play that. Nor is Ozil and Ceballos. Don't get me wrong, but I just think creativity is probably our best form of defense right now because we don't have any good defensive midfielder. So I would go with Ceballos and Ozil, and then up top I would go with Aubameyang and Lacazette because they work well together.
Can I just say one thing? If Ozil is like played, it's not going to be in a 4-4-2. Otherwise, he would have played him yesterday as well.
Oh, I agree, but this is the lineup that I would like to see. You know, listen, we all probably would like to see certain lineups, but Arteta, listen, he wrong-footed us last night with the lineup.
No one got that. No one got that right.
So Saturday he's probably gonna come out and it's gonna be completely different.
But remember one thing, Daniel, you were saying that Arteta knows his line.
We'll probably see Leno up front on Saturday or something. Do you know what I mean? We'll probably see some fucking.
Daniel, remember one thing. You were saying Arteta knows his starting 11. He knows his starting 11. A few friendly games, and he's not going to change his starting 11 because of that. And what he did.
Yeah. Listen, I hold my hands up. He wrong-footed me with that 11. But see, the thing is, though, I think Arteta is the lineup that he picked last night smacks of frustration. So the lineup that he put out last night smacks of frustration because he doesn't have he's got the ideas, but not the tools. So like he's got the ideas, but the players don't fit his ideas. And I think last night was the case in point where he just goes, you know what? What can I do? I can't play with my full ideas because the players aren't good enough. And I think he just thought, fuck it, I'll try and do the best with what I believe. And yeah, it didn't work. But I genuinely believe that his ideas are probably good enough. But I just don't think, listen, you can chop and change this team any way you want and it still wouldn't be good enough. So I think that's the problem that he's got. And I think that he's just trying to do the best with what he's got. And yeah, unfortunately, he's getting it wrong, you know. But that comes down to maybe his decision making with leaving out Pepe and stuff. But it also comes down to the fact that 90% of this squad are dog shit. And to be honest, even dog shit would perform better. Do you know what I mean? So it's what do you do? What do you do with a shit squad that we've got? You can't magic ability into this team, unfortunately. If the ability's not there, then you've just got to try and. I don't think anybody could come in and make this team any better than what it is. I think it's just. I think he's Arteta's looking ahead and going, do you know what? I want to get to the end of the season. And then 90% of this team is surface to requirements. And I think that's what's happening.
See, one thing I'll just like to add with respect to the thing is that he can't play this team with the 4-3-3. Even if he tries to do it again, he'll end up in more trouble and more shit. And then probably this is exactly Unai Emery was doing. But the thing is, at least Unai Emery, I'll give you the, if you have, I had written an article on this as well. Unai Emery, the problem was the team was playing two different games in two different halves. In the first half, they would take the lead. And then in the second half, they would throw away the lead. And if you would probably be leading 1-0 or 2-0, it would be 2-all in the second half, or 3-2 in the second half. And if you were leading 1-0, it would be probably 1-all or 2-1 in the second half to the opposition. They were playing games in two halves. At times, they were having a very poor first half where they were either conceding or they were not conceding. And then they were trying to cope up with the loss in the second half. Wenger was another guy who used to have this thing. They used to always concede goals first. They would probably concede 2 to 3 goals in the first half and then try to catch up in the second half. I think Arteta is doing the same Wenger thing. He will concede goals in the first half, and in the second half, he will try to compensate for it. Whether he can do that or not depends on the quality of the teams. Now, if that happens against Brighton, then you will understand that. One thing, Omar was asking that why can't Lacazette play in the number 10? Because of 3 reasons. One, Lacazette's best quality is holding the ball, as I said, and being the physical presence in the box, which I again was pointing out at. If you put him as a cam, those qualities are no good. Obviously, a cam does not get into the box. He's not going to be tackling with the defenders. He's not going to be troubling them out, and that removes the main quality and the main feature of his play. That is troubling the defenders and getting on their nerves and scoring goals. Second thing, a cam does not get as many shots as a striker does. If you are bringing him back, Lacazette's total number of shots, which are actually a threat. He has a good shooting ability. You're taking some of that away. And the third thing is, he does not have those quality through balls. His main play as a striker is the 1-2 pass that he does when he's holding and he's having his back against the defenders. So when Aubameyang feeds the ball to him, he'll hold the ball and he'll feed it back to Aubameyang. When Saka does that, he will do that again. And that is how the creativity is done. When he's playing as a cam, he's supposed to, he'll be expected to play those through balls from the center of the midfield. If you look at the games, if Lacazette has been playing before the pandemic, at the start of the season, even last season, you won't find too many of those through balls and those kind of passes. Lacazette does not make those passes. If you see those are the ones that are needed for a cam. That is why a lot of you may give Ozil a lot of stick, but he can still play those stationary through balls. He's stationary as
Can I say something? Can I say something as well, right?
Yeah.
Last night's game was a case in point as to why we need somebody like a Coutinho. And there's so many fans who are turning up their nose at a player like Coutinho. I'll tell you something now, right? Yeah. Coutinho, playing in the Premier League, Coutinho was always good at creating stuff from the midfield. And this is exactly why we need a player of his quality. So all of you out there who sit there going, oh, he's not good enough, he's rubbish, he's not... Listen, you saw last night that our midfield had no creativity whatsoever.
But then again, Coutinho, whether I think when he was playing at Liverpool, I don't think Liverpool were playing a 4-3-3. So again, if Arteta's plan is to play a 4-3-3 in the long run, I don't know whether he'll actually sign Coutinho or not, and whether he wants to come to Arsenal or not. There are two different arguments.
Is he playing? Let me ask you this, Nitesh. Right? Is he playing a 4-3-3 because that's what he wants to play, or is he playing a 4-3-3 to try any way, shape, or form to get the best out of these players? Yes, it didn't work. You got to ask yourself: is he playing that system to try and get the best out of these players, or is that the system that he wants to play, going forward as a coach? Because I look at that and I just, he knows. But see, I don't even think that. I just think that he's trying to get the best out of these players. He's trying every formation under the sun to try and get the best out of these players, and it's just not working. Listen, there's only so much you can shovel shit before you realize that it's shit. Do you know what I mean?
No, the thing is, what I will say about that, he's not trying a different system. He always wanted to play a 4-3-3 because that is the only system he knows from Manchester City. He was just waiting for this break to happen. Probably at the end of the season, he would have changed everything to suit the 4-3-3. Now he got that break in between because of the pandemic, and he has straight away implemented the 4-3-3. His aim, his goal will always be to create Arsenal in the shadow of Manchester City, like in the using that as the mold. So he will try to do that with the less costly and the less quality in terms of quality options that he will get at Arsenal. He will now try to replicate what he has at Manchester City, and it is going to be all the same story that he is trying to do exactly what he did at Manchester City. It may take him more longer. Whether he has that time or not is a different thing. But he's now going to switch to a 4-3-3 on a regular basis, but not again. Maybe not until the end of this season, because he has seen now what Manchester City did to his team when they played a 4-3-3, and he may not take the risk because he wants to finish in the top 5 right now.
Yeah.
So he may go back to the 4-2-3-1 till the end of the season. And at the end of the season, he will have enough time. He will have a preseason. He'll be getting in some more players. So then at that point of time, he's going to regularly impart the 4-3-3 and not look back.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so let's go into score predictions for this game.
Okay.
Because we're going to score predictions, and then we'll get some of the comments, some of the viewer comments. Let's get some of those guys involved as well. So we'll go to the score predictions. So Nitesh, I'm going to start with you first. What do you think the score will be for this game?
Based on what I saw against City, it will probably be 3-2 to Arsenal.
Simpy?
Yeah, can I just give some backstory to my prediction?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
All right. So once upon a time. No, right. So
fucking once upon a time bullshit. It's not story time at nursery, you know.
So yeah, I'm looking at the table, and you might say, "Oh, but form's out the window because of the whole 3 months holiday kind of thing." But looking at our front three, obviously, Laka, Orba, Pepe, even though they've not played that much together, we've scored 40 goals. Brighton, who are near the relegation zone, have scored 32 goals. Have only scored 8 more goals than Brighton. And Brighton have only conceded 1 more goal than us all season. Brighton on 29 points, we're on 40. Obviously, I mentioned earlier in the stream, they've got some tricky players we've got to look out for. Obviously, Morpie, who ripped us apart at the Emirates. Aaron Connolly might feature. Glenn Murray might feature. Aaron Moy, Lewis Dunk, Duffy, Matt Ryan. So it's going to be a tough team, and I think it was Jonathan Porter as well, was stating their midfield and their defense will be up for a fight. So we've got to win that midfield battle, which we completely lost in pretty much most of our games. So on that basis, like Nitesh said, I think it is going to be a high-scoring game. Obviously, we've had a little, well, it was kind of like a training exercise that we took it as, even though it was a proper Premier League game. This is Brighton's first game. I've got no idea if they played any games behind closed doors or what they did. But on that basis, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between Arsenal and Brighton.
Yeah, okay. Do you know what? I'm going to completely blow you guys' predictions out of the water, because I actually think, on the basis of last night, going from what we've seen last night, I think we'll lose it. I think we'll lose it 2-0. I think we'll get beat. I honestly do. I don't think we. Listen, I didn't see anything last night, apart from the fact that we sort of were in the game. That we were in the game until near half time, but I didn't see anything that suggests that we're going to get anything out of this game. And I just against Brighton, I just don't see it. Do you know what? Right, watching the game last night reminded me of the last games under Emery. The very last games under Emery, it was pretty much the same. No creativity, void of ideas, and I don't necessarily blame Arteta for that. I blame him for his substitutions and maybe his starting lineup you could question, but I just think these players are done out here at Arsenal. I think they're completely done. Maybe not all of them, but 90% of these players are done, and I don't see us getting a result. I don't see it. If I'm being honest, I think we'll lose it 2-0. I think Brighton will beat us 2-0.
I wish I had a time machine and I could go back and I could go to Daniel and say, "Hey Daniel, this is you. This is you in a week's time."
Yeah. Because no, do you know what it is, right? Before, I was prepared to give, prepared to give players benefit of the doubt in terms of, listen, we've come back from a long pandemic and all that jazz, right? I was prepared to do that. But what I saw last night was players just not putting in any effort. Those players put in zero effort last night. I don't even think I could pick. Actually, no, with the exception of Leno, right? Because Leno, if it wasn't for Leno, we probably would have been battered 6 or 7-0. But apart from him, I don't see any other player putting in effort. Not even Saka, who I rate Bukayo Saka. I think he's brilliant. Not even, I didn't see nothing from Aubameyang. Yes, you could say that he was isolated, and you could argue that point. But I saw nothing from the midfield. Everyone bangs on about Ceballos, going, "Oh yeah, he's brilliant, he's great, he does this and that." He had one good game against Burnley, and he's still living off the hype. Did nothing. He's done nothing since. So yeah, honestly, I'm about as. Do you know what I mean? I'm not confident.
Yeah,
I'm not confident at all, and I think that. I think that we'll go to Brighton and we'll get our pants pulled down.
The chat agrees with you, apart from I think just Jonathan Porter's the only one who's gone for a Arsenal win. So we got
you guys need to remember one thing. You guys need to remember one thing. Manchester City is a different class. Arsenal is not in the class as City and Liverpool. So this was bound to happen. The only one who was not agreeing to this happening was Daniel. He was saying that no, we will get something out of the game. We have a chance. And probably some people saying just a draw just to make themselves happy.
But do you know what it is though, Niteshra? I said that we could get something out of this. Yeah. Because when those players put effort in, we could easily get something out of it. But these players, what I saw last night is that these players pick and choose when they put effort in. And it's not right. You know, I said, because if these players have put effort in, right, we could have easily got something out of that game last night. But from minute zero, we probably would have, Nitesh. We probably could have. We could have if they'd have put in the effort. And to me, right, if we had gone there and lost, but we'd have put in maximum effort, to me, that's still getting something out of the game, because you would have seen from the players that they care. You would have seen that there is progression, but these players have not put in the effort. That's what I'm saying.
No, the thing
getting
is,
something out of a game doesn't always mean that you get a good result, because progression can, you could have good performances and still lose a game and still come out of the game thinking. Let me say this for a case in point, right? Everybody, we played when we played Chelsea at the Emirates, right? Did anybody come out that game feeling hard done by? Nobody come out that game. Everybody come out that game thinking, okay, we lost, but at least we put the effort in. At least we saw fight. At least we saw, desire. At least we saw players playing for the shirt. Okay, yes, we got beaten, but there were signs that we were going in the right direction. There were signs. So, like, for me, I wasn't too disappointed. I was disappointed that we'd lost. I was gutted because I felt that we should have got something out of that game. But I really wasn't too. I wasn't too angry because the players did put in the effort. But last night against Man City, there was none of that. There was absolutely no effort. We didn't even create one single chance.
I disagree.
We didn't even
That's
create
because
one
Arteta
single
picked the wrong
chance.
attackers.
But we didn't create one
That's
single
because
chance.
Arteta picked the wrong attackers.
But Aubameyang was on the pitch.
We played well yesterday. We played
Aubameyang was on the
well
pitch.
yesterday. That
Our
is why in the
midfield,
first
our
half,
midfield was poor though, Nitesh. Our midfield, there was no creativity in the midfield.
that is the story since Aaron Ramsey left. There is no new thing about it. The second thing is, in the first half, there were like 2 to 3 clear chances that City got, and they converted one. And we got a chance, probably, or a couple of chances to take a shot, but our attackers did not take that shot. It was Nketiah who couldn't take a shot. He couldn't divert it towards goal. He got a few chances, but he wasn't strong enough. So our attack was wrong. That is why we couldn't create more in the game. The next thing is, we didn't play that bad. Till the time David Luiz got sent off and he gave that penalty away, we had just conceded one goal in the first half. One goal. That too a good,
Yeah,
brilliant
defensively, we didn't play that bad, but we didn't create nothing.
We didn't create
And
anything.
unfortunately, if you're gonna win a game, or you're gonna have a chance of winning a game, you've got to create something. And we didn't create nothing.
I understand that, but you need to understand these players are not used to playing in a 4-3-3. That is why I am blaming Arteta. That is why I'm blaming Arteta. Why the hell will you change your formation from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3 in a game against Manchester City? I don't understand that formational change. And even if you have to change that,
I don't get that either.
Why will you?
I don't get that either, Nitesh. I don't get that either.
Yeah.
But if you're playing players on the pitch, it doesn't matter. Irrespective of that, they have still got to show fight, and they didn't show any fight. This is what I'm saying to you. They didn't show any. No, come on. To me, that's a cop out that's a cop out. The players should have shown fight. It doesn't matter whether you understand the system or not. They should have shown at least a bit of fight. Daniel, and they played 4-3-3. These are the same players that played 4-3-3 under Unai Emery. So you're saying that they didn't understand the formation. You're saying that they didn't understand the formation. They played under that system with Emery.
No, it wasn't. It didn't work. Those other formations never worked. That is why Emery tried a lot of formations, and he eventually had to go back to the 4-2-3-1. Even Emery tried it. This is what I'm saying. Arteta should have done his research and his study that Emery has tried all these formations, and those things have not worked. That is why probably he's tried a Nketiah, which was again a bad option. And the next thing is, if you see, I shared a short video where Aubameyang made the runs according to the 4-3-3 formation as well. He found space and he was waiting for the passes, but the system has not been understood. The players were not adventurous to feed him that ball and to try those things. That is why he did not have to change the tactical thing. He could have probably gone in with an Ozil. I'm not going to defend that, but even if he did not want to go with an Ozil, he should have retained the original system, at least for the Manchester City game. I'm not saying that for Brighton he should do the same, but what I'm trying to say is, at least for the Manchester City games and now till the end of the season, where he needs to get as many points as possible because he knows what his target is, trying to finish in the top 5, he shouldn't have changed the system. He changed that forward system because the defense at the back does not change. That is fine. But when he changed the system up front, there has been no creativity, and Unai Emery has already done that and failed and gotten abused and criticized, and all those things have already happened. He should have done his research on that. That Emery did it already.
Arteta's a different guy. Just because it doesn't work for one manager, it could.
I'm
not defending Arteta, but I'm just saying, right, that he could have. Listen, any managers have their different ways of working. Doesn't matter whether you use the formation of the previous manager, the motivational stuff. You know what? The truth of the matter is, Nitesh, these players aren't good enough, and they don't put in the effort. It's a simple fact is they don't put in the effort. They do not put in the effort. We've seen it time and time again under Emery. Yeah. They didn't put in the effort. Emery lost his job for 2 reasons. One, because he messed around with the system too much, and secondly, these players they didn't put in the effort. They weren't playing for him. Now, I'm not suggesting that they are not playing for Arteta, but these players don't have a winning mentality or a mentality to, okay, we're going to believe in what what we're doing. These players have far too much control at this club. So do you know what I'm saying?
See,
Right?
that
These
was the thing
players
that I was saying
these players
at time
aren't
of Emery.
good enough. These players
They are
aren't
not.
good
They,
enough.
they don't have the winning mentality. It's the same thing that I said during Emery. But yesterday, it was not about the winning mentality. It was young players who were not able to fit into the system. And I'll tell you one more thing. The thing about Arteta and yesterday, his plan was that I said the embarrassment part, not that, but this is something different. He was trying to surprise Pep, and the team and the players surprised him by the
All right
performance.
then. And how do you fix it then? Because say you play the system that you was talking about, the 4-2-3-1, they could still play shit. Do you really think that changing this formation is going to change the players' attitudes? No, I don't think so. I think these players just couldn't be bothered. Simple fact is they couldn't be bothered.
Nitesh, do you know what formations we played in the 2 training games?
No, I think one was the same one and 4-3-3 was one.
Okay, I was going to say, because why would he change it against Man City? You would have wanted to test it in your training game, in the preseason like training games, rather than doing it against an actual Premier League opponent.
See, I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't bother to watch the preseason games because of 2 reasons. One thing, all these fans watch those games and then they get an erection and they say that, oh my God, we won 6-0 and all those things happen. But the second thing is, I just wanted to see which all players are playing and which all players are scoring. Because I knew that at that point, if someone performs well, Arteta is going to straight away take him into the team. And that is what he did. He brought in Willock, he brought in Nketiah, he dropped David Luiz, he brought Pablo Mari and Mustafi. He did everything that I said he will do with respect to that. And he did exactly those things. But now the thing is, the only error he made, the huge error, was he did changed his formation there. He should have stuck to the same formation, the 4-2-3-1, till the end of the season. Because I understand what Daniel is saying. No, I'm not saying we would have won the game.
Listen, let me tell you, right? You can play 4-3, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. These players would have still fucked us over.
I am not saying that their attitude would have changed. I'm not saying that we would have beaten City. What I'm saying is, but if there is an idiot, you have an idiot. He knows what he's doing. He works like a machine. He does this thing every day. Okay. And there is a new person who has never done this thing before. The idiot will look smarter than the person who does that job for the first time because he does that same thing every day. So that is the point. If a person is molded to do one thing and only one thing on a daily basis, he will do it better than a new person coming in who may be better than him in terms of those qualities. The idiot will do that thing better than that person who's doing it for the first time. When these idiots on the pitch are actually doing that same thing, playing the same formation day in and day out, they will do better in that formation rather than them trying a new formation, which is the 4-3-3. And that is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that we would have won the game. I'm not giving any kind of guarantees because Manchester City is a class above Arsenal. But what I'm trying to say is the performances, the link up and the system would have been a better success than what it was yesterday.
I agree with both of your points. Nitesh, the whole formation thing, if we use the formation you mentioned, then perhaps it would have made us perform better. I agree we wouldn't have beat Man City. We might have had at least one shot on target. And I agree with Daniel as well. The players that he wants to fill in these formation aren't good enough. The midfield being the key area.
He hasn't got the players for these formations. He hasn't got these players aren't good enough for any formation. Let's be honest. These players aren't good enough for any formation.
No, but they have been playing. They have been playing in a 4-2-3-1 for quite some time, for so many years now. Even Arsene Wenger had dropped the whole 4-3-3 or 4-4-2 formation, and he has stuck to this formation. So every
different managers want to play different systems.
Understandable.
And it doesn't matter. Okay, how many systems? You're saying these players have been playing for years, right? Under different formations. Doesn't that prove my point then? That it doesn't matter what formation you play, these players aren't good enough. You can't. Like I said, you can't keep shoveling shit and expecting it to turn into gold. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
But the best results have come in a 4-2-3-1. That is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we would have beaten City again. What I'm saying is the best results out of all the formations have come in a 4-2-3-1. And I'm not saying that Arteta shouldn't implement his 4-3-3, but not now. This is not the time when you know that you are trying to fight for a top 5 position. When that is obviously the mentality that you want to go in with. You are not saying that we have given up on that. You don't change these things, such a drastic change you don't bring, unless you are trying to fortify the defense or you have something else on your mind with respect to defensive side of things. You don't turn your attack around, because if you see, 3 players were out of position. Who were the 3? Aubameyang was out of position. He was in a system where he has not been there and he's playing out of position again. Saka was completely out of position. He became from a left winger. He went to the right hand side. The thing now with the midfield was that Ceballos, Willock, and Guendouzi, have they ever played in a midfield of 3? No. Were their roles defined? No. You are up against the Kevin De Bruyne. Will they ever be able to cope against these guys? No. If you are doing so many changes in a game against Manchester City, if you are making a few changes, it is understandable. If you make a bulk change, the players themselves were confused. And then whose responsibility was it to feed the balls to Aubameyang? Even that was not decided. If they had a particular player, like if you say Ceballos, it is your responsibility that you need to get the ball. The midfield will give you the ball, and you need to feed it to Aubameyang. Then Ceballos can probably do that. Or if it is a Willock's job to keep hold of and keep check of Kevin De Bruyne, he'll try to do that. I'm not saying that he'll be able to do it, but you need to define roles. When you're changing a formation all of a sudden in such a game,
let me say this, right? Yeah. Let me say this, right? Arteta probably would have told these players in training to define roles. But listen, countless times in games, right, we have seen these players just go off and do their own fucking thing, irrespective of giving a player a role. We've seen it countless times that they just go off and do their own merry thing on the pitch.
But the manager is standing on the touchline. That is why he's standing there. It's not as if he got a touchline ban and he was sitting in the stands.
Yeah, I get that, Nitesh. I get that, but these players, I think people need to start realizing that these players just don't listen. Simple as.
No, I'm not saying that if a Ceballos lets his man through and Kevin De Bruyne scores, or if a defender lets his player in and he scores like David Luiz did, I'm not saying that is what when the manager gets blamed. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying when you see Kevin De Bruyne play yesterday, half of the time Ceballos was tracking him, half of the time Willock was tracking him, half of the time Guendouzi was tracking him. Why don't you define the role that you tell Ceballos or you tell a Willock that your job is to stick to Kevin De Bruyne, be a pain in his ass, and not let go of him? If you know, these are the kind of things that Jose Mourinho did during his Chelsea days. These are the kind of things that Arsene Wenger did during the invincible times. If you're not doing those things, then it's not going to happen. If you're not giving your team a defined role, and what you're doing is you're giving them the handicap of a change formation, which you suddenly change at the back of a pandemic and the season restarting, they're not going to fit into that. They're not going to do that. And one more thing, because I just read a Barca comment, I just want to say one thing. Coutinho at Barca, same formation, 4-3-3. He's not fit in there. He's not going to fit in at Arsenal in 4-3-3.
Let me say that the test will be whether Arteta uses a 4-3-3 again. Because if he uses it again, then yes, I'll be the first to say, Arteta, what are you doing? You know that system hasn't worked. So why are you using it again? It'd be interesting to see if he uses a different formation in the next game. If he uses the same one, then yeah, I'll criticize him because you know that formation doesn't work. But equally, these players have to take a lot of responsibility for what they do on the pitch, and I think too many times people make excuses for these players. And I'm sorry, in my opinion, they've run out of excuses and they've run out of chances. As soon as we can, we need to bin a lot of them.
But then, Daniel, I have a question for you. If we are saying that the players weren't listening to Emery, the players weren't listening to Wenger, the players aren't listening to Arteta, why did we change the manager?
Because Wenger, I believe that, listen, he wasn't changing. He wasn't evolving with football. Football was changing and he wasn't changing with it. Emery, He's the thing with Emery. Emery is very, 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 very confusing for me because he started off really well. He was playing players, like Torreira in his defensive midfield role. He was playing as it should be, and he'd do right. And then all of a sudden, when things fell apart, he just changed it. He just fucked around with it and made it to the point where, listen, his job was impossible because he was. Come on, you could question his decisions and obvious decisions because, like Torreira being the case in point, he plays out of his skin in the defensive midfielder role, and then he just goes and puts him as a number 10, and you're sort of like, what are you doing? And it was clear to see after a few games that wasn't his position, and defensive midfielder was his position, and then you could sort of see with Emery, Ljungberg. I think the players didn't play for Ljungberg because he was part of that setup, and I think by that point they just down tools completely. So I can understand why they changed the manager, but the common denominator here is the players. They're not good enough. How can you have Arteta, Ljungberg, Emery, and Wenger, 4 different managers, and yet not one of them has been able to get the best out of these players? When are people going to start going, do you know what? These players aren't good enough. Yeah, there's a few of them that probably are, like a Pepe, maybe a Lacazette, Aubameyang, obviously, and Martinelli and Saka, 1745. Leno, Tierney.
And one more thing I would like to add again, as I've said this before.
The rest of them are just shit. Simple as.
When the club decides to sell your only creative midfielder, which is the one that was actively playing, Aaron Ramsey, when you sell him, you drop Ozil.
Come on, there was a lot of let me say this though, Nitesh. Yeah. There was a lot of factors in that Ramsey going.
No, I'm not
Ramsey.
That.
Let me say this right. Ramsey. No, it's your dinner time, they offered him a contract, and then they withdrew it. But Ramsey wanted the same as what Ozil got. Now let me say this right. I said when Ozil signed that contract, I said that watch it now, it's going to ruin the club because every other player now is going to want the same as Ozil. And I bet that's the reason why Aubameyang's not signed yet. And I bet you that Aubameyang will leave and it will come out a couple of years or a year down the line and he will say, oh, well, I wanted the same as what Ozil was getting.
No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm trying to say is when Ramsey left, Ozil is not being played. Ceballos was injured. Your Xhaka can't play as a creative midfielder because he does not have the
good enough. They're not good enough. Exactly. What can you do?
So that is why I said it before that Emery tried to play Torreira up front because Xhaka was the main defensive midfielder.
But Torreira's not an attacking midfielder. He's a defensive midfielder.
You saw the games last season. He did well there when the team was playing well against.
He's not an attacking midfielder. He's a defensive midfielder.
It's an experiment that didn't work out. Yesterday, Arteta did the same. So Emery got the stick for it. Arteta gets the stick for yesterday's failed experiment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I agree with you.
But see,
the thing is, the difference is, right? Emery done that countless games. Arteta's only done this formation once.
It starts like this. It starts exactly like this. So
let's see. If he does it again in the next game and we get absolutely battered, then yeah, you could sort of say, okay, well, you know that it doesn't work, so why are you doing it again? If he does a completely different formation and it works, then you could probably say, okay, he's probably learned from his mistakes. The thing is with Emery, he never learned from his mistakes. He kept making the same mistakes countless times.
At that Torreira camp point of time, he had no players left. None of his players were creating. Willock was shit. Willock was not doing anything. He did not have any players. If you see, Ceballos was injured. The only one who can probably create and pass around, he was out for 3 months. That is Ceballos. Ozil was not played. It was a club's decision and it was combined with Emery. They may say anything about it. They didn't want Ozil to play. So when you don't have a creative midfielder, he tried to play Torreira in because he was the one who had the work rate and can run off the ball with it. So he tried that. It didn't work out. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it worked out, but I'm saying it did not work out. But then he had no other option because the club did not sign another creative midfielder when they let Ramsey go.
Wait, so you guys saw that picture with Emery, Arteta, Wenger, and Lundberg? I think it was you saw Emery got more points per game, didn't he?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I
Then what?
didn't see it, but can you share it if you have it?
I'll try to find it, but statistics wise, I know Nitesh likes his statistics. Jeez, that's a tongue twister. Yeah, the more points per game we got was by Unai Emery.
I know that because we finished last season, we finished in the 5th place and we lost the 4th place by a point. So
Yeah.
that was progress. I understand. But then now the reason we are struggling this season is because there hasn't been a replacement for Ramsey. When you are letting your creative midfielder who scores goals go and you don't buy a replacement, it comes down to that. As simple as that. That is why Lacazette has struggled. Aubameyang has kind of lost his charm with respect to the games this season, because your recruitment has let a player go, a key midfielder go, who was obviously injured at times, but he was a key player. And last season, if Ramsey was not injured, if Bellerin was not injured, we would have easily finished in the top 4. We would have won that Europa League title as well, probably.
Okay, so guys, I want to get in some chats because we've been going for almost just under 2 hours now. So I want to get in some chats and wrap up. So
Okay.
simply, what have we got in the chat?
I'll scroll up a lot. I'm just going to go into real quick. I'm going to go into the score predictions area, and then I'll scroll down. So we've got Steve, so Arsenal Misfit. He's gone for a 2-1 Brighton win. Cheddars has gone for a 1-0 Arsenal. Kevin's said 2-1 to Brighton on his head, but in his heart he's gone for 2-2. Grant McRoberts has gone for a 0-0. Bertrand's gone for Brighton win 1-0. Omar's gone for a 1-1. Melina's gone for a 2-0. Revanite has gone for a 1-1.
Yeah,
I want to add one thing. The people who are saying that Arsenal will lose to Brighton, you need to understand Manchester City again is at a different level. Brighton is not. They haven't played a single game. We have an advantage that we have played a Premier League game. Fitness levels matter. If you saw the Sheffield versus Aston Villa game, Sheffield United versus Aston Villa game, Brighton will have a similar kind of thing. Unless they get a lucky early goal, they are not going to be scoring in the first half probably.
What was your prediction? 3-2?
3-2. The reason I said 3-2 is because I think Arsenal will get those 3 goals and probably concede 1. And towards the end, they will concede a second goal as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then,
okay.
Yeah, we got 2 of the most recent ones was to do with the whole Emery argument. So, I'll read out Jonathan's first. So, Jonathan says, Emery lost his way. The players didn't back him. It cost too much to get rid of them. Easier to bin him. Arteta is fortunate that these players' contracts are running out. And then Kevin's come in and said, backing up, it was the points per game thing. So he said, Emery brought us 5th place, took us to the Europa League final, and Arteta took over when we are 9th or 10th, and we're still there. Where's the difference?
No, I don't blame Arteta for this table position. It's not his fault. But the thing is, when you're I'm not worried about that. It's not Arteta's fault that we are in 9th or 10th. It is not his fault. But the problem is, if the whole narrative behind bringing Arteta in was that we want to compete for the top 4 or top 5. That was a narrative that was given out at that point of time, and that is not going to happen, and we will still be in the bottom half of the hopefully the bottom top half of the table. So that was a very false narrative. There were 2 people promoting a narrative at that point. One was Jose Mourinho, who's himself struggling at Spurs right now and is shit in terms of what he was back in the day. And the second narrative was this Arteta narrative that bring Arteta in and he will probably give us a top 4 finish, which is not going to happen again. Even if it is top 5, it's not going to happen. Now, the third thing is you can't blame Arteta for this, but you need to understand one thing. Emery had a good first season. He had players like Ramsey who were creating from the midfield and scoring goals as well. You took out Ramsey. You took out some of the legs as well. Torreira has been quite injured this time as well. This season, he has picked up a lot of injuries, which was expected. He doesn't have the physicality, and you can see the result. We are in the 9th or 10th place. We lost some points. We lost to Chelsea, which we shouldn't have probably lost. We dropped points against Watford. We lost some of the games And obviously the players aren't backing him. That was the right thing. That I agree to. But we should have waited and not wasted 10 million in sacking him. Around 10 to 15 million, I think we spent on sacking him, and we should have not given 6 million to Arteta at that point of time. If Arteta wanted to come to Arsenal, he could have come at the end of the season when he would have a proper pre-season. He would have proper players to bring in. He wouldn't be saying that I need to wait till the end of the season and see what happens. That those things wouldn't have happened at that point of time. The next thing is, last thing is, with respect to Unai Emery, if you see, he had a good season last time because of the system and the setup and the play. If you say that Emery only got that 5th place position because of Wenger, that is wrong. Because in the previous season before that, Wenger did not finish in the top 5. Wenger did not. Wenger finished below it. Now the thing is, so Arteta, whether Emery improved us majorly or not, he got the results and he got that 22 unbeaten run. Whether he got it by hook or crook doesn't matter. He got the results. He got the 5th place finish and the UEFA Europa League final. Remember one thing, even in the UEFA Europa League, we were losing the away games and winning the home games, and that is how we reached the final. So there are ways, because you don't want to overexert your players in all games, because he had a limited squad, and I think that was a good plan, that you don't lose the away games too bad. You probably get an away goal as well, and you are still in the tie, and then you win the tie, and that is why we reached the final as well. So there was something that the fans need to also see and consider. So with respect to that, he did whatever he could. He got us to that place in the last season. This season things weren't working out, but then even Chelsea has had an 8th place finish. Does that mean you get rid of the entire team and you get rid of the entire manager? You don't do that. It didn't happen after that as well.
Yeah, just hope your name doesn't carry on.
Yeah. Okay. Simpy, you just keep reading out a couple of comments. I'm just going to pop to the loo, and I've got to feed the dog. So you read out some comments.
Okay.
Big up to the dog.
Big up to the dog. Was it Yayan? Yayan, I think. So yeah, we got Johnson on Facebook who said, the coach selection was too poor yesterday, and I blamed him for the result. Jonathan Porter, the end of the last season has been gradual decline. We are not going to see the top 4 and challenging for at least 2 more seasons. We don't have the buying power to change quickly. Yeah, I agree with you, Jonathan. Looking at our rivals, so looking at Chelsea's purchasers, looking at Leicester, obviously their current team and their bench is way better than our starting midfield, for example, and defence. And then they're going to potentially sell Chilwell, so they're going to have money to reinvest in that as well. And it's not as if they're not going to spend money anyway.
And the only reason the club has signed Arteta is to pacify the fans, because the fans were like, we didn't want Unai Emery. He's struggling now. We wanted someone that we can bank on. So the fans, majority of the fans said that we want Mikel Arteta. The club said, okay, we are giving you Mikel Arteta. Now let's see if he gets better results or not. And this is the phase where you will realize that Arteta wasn't the sole problem, or Emery wasn't the sole problem. And eventually you will be pacified for some time till the club can make some major changes, which is like 5 to 10 years.
Nitesh, do you agree with this point? I raised this point with Kevin earlier on today. So obviously our rivals now, we've not even got top 4 rivals. It's top 6. If we had adding Man United into it, do you not think if Man United keep the current crop of players and just sign Sancho, they've got a fantastic team?
I don't think so. Sancho, again, Bundesliga player who's shown in the Bundesliga, he's good. I'm not saying he's bad. But then these Bundesliga players need to first settle into the squad. If they're able to do that,
So he'd be the understudy to Dan James, and then when he's at the level and fitness, he'd come in and overtake Dan James. But looking at their striker, left wing, their whole midfield, their backline and goalkeeper, it's definitely a top 4 contender. It's way better, in a way better state than ours.
I said the same thing. I said they are going to finish. I had hoped that they would be title contenders this season. They are fucked up against the small teams and played well against the big ones. So they will obviously be title contenders. I'm not denying that.
We're the opposite. We play well against the small teams and fuck up
but
against the big ones.
Daniel, you need to remember one thing. If we spent the kind of money that Manchester United did, we would have probably been challenging Liverpool and Manchester City, and spent it in the right way, obviously.
Yeah, that's the big thing, spending the money in the right way. So yeah, listen, guys, I think it's probably about the perfect time to wrap up. Because we've been going for quite some time now. And so, yeah, I just want to I just want to go round each of you. So I'm going to start with Nitesh, since we've got your viewers from your Facebook page as well. So just tell everybody for the YouTube side of things where they can find you, and just give yourself a shout out.
Before that, I think no one noticed this, but you should notice this as well. my tag name is Arteta can't pick a team.
Yes, I did see that. I wasn't going to comment on it, but I did see it.
Yeah, because it's happened more often than not now, even Olympiacos game and again. Anyways, you can find me on Arsenal FC Fans. We have a growing page, and the target for that page is possibly by the end of the year or the first half of next year, 1 million Arsenal likes, getting 1 million Arsenal fans on that page. And I'll be doing a lot of collaborations with a lot of guys, including Daniel as well. And as you can see, this video is again live on the Arsenal FC Fans page. And also, you can find me on Beyond the Post on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And you can visit my website, which is beyondthepost.net, where we post written content. And I am going to probably do an article on Arteta as well soon. So let's see.
Yeah, Simpy.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, it was good. It was 10% Brighton preview and 90% Arteta and Arsenal Man City rant. But yeah,
well, we did talk about the Brighton game. Obviously, we did.
Yeah. Well, it was more like 70-30. 70-30.
But inevitably, we were going to talk about the last night's game, because last night's game would have impacted on Saturday's game as well. So yeah, listen, I thought it was good.
We gave Brighton enough importance. Let's not give them too much importance.
Yeah, so my YouTube, Twitter, Instagram is Simpy141 just here, and I'm doing a quick 30-minute roundup of Fantasy Premier League on yesterday's results with Nitesh at 8 p.m. So please do come and join in for that if you can be bothered.
Yeah. So
I scored 75.
Guys, listen, thanks for joining us. Thanks for everybody tuning in. I just want to give Yeah, hold on one sec, guys. I just got. Are you ready, Susan? Yeah, go for it.
When you tell him then.
Yeah, go on then, yeah. Sorry, Bob's having his dinner in his toy. I just want to quickly say to everybody, look, once again, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Also, as well, guys, coming up on the YouTube channel, I know we got guys, you guys are watching on the Arsenal FC Fans Facebook page, but coming up on the Blind Gooner, there's going to be a watch along tomorrow for the Man United Tottenham game. We're going to be watching that game and hopefully laughing at Spurs. Hopefully. And then obviously once again on Saturday, we've got the big game, Brighton versus Arsenal. If you're not too traumatized from last night. Also again for that Brighton Arsenal game, we're going to be live on both platforms, the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. But for those of you who are on Facebook, if you want to subscribe to the Blind Gooner, the link is in the comment section under the video. So please do subscribe. I really appreciate that. Lots of Arsenal content coming up. Lots of great stuff coming up. And then on Sunday on the Blind Gooner, we have the Merseyside derby, which is always a good game. So we're going to be watching that game as well. That's just what's coming up and on the channel. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in on Facebook and on YouTube. It's been a great show as always. And until tomorrow, we'll catch you all soon. And it's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from the panel.
Hoping the Arsenal fans, hoping for the Arsenal players were as obedient as the dog.
Yeah.
I love you.